Welcome back inside the vault. It's the 20th of October. I'm Bobby Trossett. This is my co-host and partner, Sarah Ellison. And after a bye week, solo Sarah, Monday through Wednesday, fill-in hosts, which we'll thank in just a second, Thursday and Friday. We are so back. And the Ravens, hopefully, Sarah, are back and at it as well, because week 7 has came and went, or at least it will have at the end of tonight. It's a doubleheader, Monday Night Football. And that means the Chicago week. The Ravens and Bears will square off this upcoming weekend. We've got a lot to discuss in between now and then, though. Great to see you. We got a whole rundown, but we probably should say thanks to our guys at the end of last week. You guys probably noticed on Thursday and Friday we had sit-in, fill-in hosts for us. So shout out the 410 Sports Talk guys, James Haskell and Glenn Martin. And then, of course, on Friday, familiar names. All four really were familiar names and faces. But to this program, I know Samuel Njoku and Kadri Ismail have come on probably more recently than the 410 guys. But we thank all of them equally for getting us through the bye week. Partner, hope you had an awesome time in Utah. We're going to get to that later on in the show. Jack Settleman will actually drop by to share some experiences of his first overall time at the Holy War game. And I think you were pretty pleased with the end result in that one. So there's a lot to get to today, but it's great to see you.
It's so good to see you. As I said in our pre-show call, I missed you. There is something about just our energy together and the adrenaline that comes with having to have a show ready every day at noon and all the things that we got to get done. I miss the listeners. I miss the VAULTRONs, even though I had a great time. And like you said, we'll explain that later. And we're definitely going to listen. Let's be honest. At the end of the show, we won't do it. We'll get through all the Ravens content first, but we're going to indulge me a little bit with this holy war that just went down in Utah while I was out there, even though I didn't get to go to the game. And that's why we're having Jack Settleman on. But it's just so good to be back. This is why bye weeks are good. It gives you a little refresher. It lets you come back and ready to attack life. Like, let's go. There's so much to get to.
Yeah, hopefully everybody out there on the receiving end, on the listening or watching end feels the same, because obviously in the days that led up to the beginning of the bye, times have been tough. And who knows, maybe it's going to get tougher down the stretch. But as far as we know, Lamar and a slew of other players will return to the Ravens lineup this upcoming weekend. And speaking of Ravens, Sarah, several of them in anonymous fashion spoke to the Baltimore Sun. Matter of fact, they spoke to over 20 people. Not sure if all 25 specifically were players. Do we know that specifically?
Not all 25 were players, just 25 sources.
Okay. In terms of to get a feel for what's going on behind the scenes. And so Brian Wacker and a number of other reporters, courtesy of the Baltimore Sun, is where we begin today, Sarah. Their latest and their inside reporting here in terms of peeling back the curtain a little bit for what's gone wrong through the first 6 weeks.
Yeah, so just to give love to everybody that contributed to this, there was Brian Wacker, there was Josh Tolentino, Sam Cohen, and Sam Jane. So they collectively interviewed these 25 sources, and they did allow some of the current Ravens players, not some anonymous executive somewhere in the NFC or AFC commenting on the Ravens. This is current players that are on this 2025 roster where they got some anonymous sourcing. And so what they said the Sun came from inside the locker room, and some were granted anonymity so that they could speak freely without fear of retribution. A few league sources also offered a perspective on the team's struggles. So, Bobby, I think overall, after reading the whole article, and we'll take some of the quotes and go through it, but yeah, they talked a bit about coaching. But the coach under fire was not the one that's under fire with the fan base, or the ones that are under fire with the fan base. So I thought that was interesting. And then they talked a little bit about what's going on psychologically inside of all their minds, which really started, I guess, after the Bills game. And they also talked about what coaches have done inside the locker room, some changes to try to motivate them. So let's start with the first coach and the only coach that was called out by some of these anonymous players. So here we go from inside the Sun article. This anonymous player says, quote, "It just feels different," speaking about the offense. "I just don't feel like guys are being put in positions to succeed with this offense," one veteran offensive player told the Sun. aiming his criticism at offensive coordinator Todd Monken, now in his third year in Baltimore. Asked what he meant. The player said, "It's freaking Lamar Jackson. How can you not find ways to have success with him?" But I'm pretty sure if you put Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes out there for us right now, the same things would be happening, close quote, from this veteran anonymous offensive player. And what's interesting, Bobby, is like you'd think that with Todd Monken, obviously when Lamar Jackson was healthy, they were averaging well over 30 points per game. But I think what we have criticized on the outside is some of the red zone play calling and situational play calling. So they went from number one in the red zone scoring last year. They were scoring 85% of the time that they were in the red zone. Now they're 15th with scoring just 40%, so less than half the time. It also talks about how Baltimore's turned the ball over 10 times, although I don't know that I'd put that all on Todd Monken. I think Derrick Henry would be the first to raise his hand, or Flowers, because they're definitely emphasizing turnovers. We've heard it nonstop. But those 10 turnovers is just one shy of all of last season's totals. So it was interesting to me. We'll get to what they say about Zach Orr. John Harbaugh wasn't mentioned at all, good or bad, but it was Todd Monken that was called out. What was your reaction to that?
Not the first time this year that he's been the fall guy, right? For if you're Todd Monken, you know, obviously there's blame all around. I think we know that there's blame that should go all around, and you've mentioned it. It's more than just the turnovers. Of those 10, which you just alluded to, Derrick Henry's 3 fumbles. That number looks a little bit different. You take away those. Two of the 3, by the way, have been backbreaking in a couple of their losses so far this year, and that was before Lamar went down, as we know. And then I think what's been most disturbing with or without Lamar is what you just referenced a minute ago, and it's been that almost scared type of conservative play calling once you get inside the 20. It's that situational play calling, the gotta have it moments where they have fallen so short. And leading into the bye, all we talked about was not just like the lack of feel for your personnel, especially related to the tush pushes that went wrong and came up short, but also like, wow, said personnel is just not getting it done. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes you feel like now that we're feeling refreshed, and hopefully everyone in our audience is feeling refreshed, you hope that in the midst of the Ravens doing whatever they need to do to get rejuvenated outside of just getting healthy with the extra time that they have, that they've had a chance to take a look at themselves, or in the coach's perspective, their personnel in the mirror. You know what I mean? They're looking at themselves, meaning their personnel and everything that they have in front of them, and say, you know what, we have to make a change here, whether that be guard play, or we have to make a change here, whether that be moving away from Cooper Rush. God forbid Lamar isn't able to go this upcoming Sunday, which we have nothing to suggest that, right? Practice hasn't begun yet this week. We're still operating on the John Harbaugh optimism that he expressed last week before the bye began. So yeah, those are my thoughts. I'd say those are my initial thoughts on it. What about you?
Yeah, no, I think that when he says it's freaking Lamar Jackson, you should be able to do something. Like the red zone issues were a problem before Lamar Jackson went down. So I think that's all fair. Now, I don't want to conflate turnovers and put that on Todd Monken because I don't. And I also don't want to say, hey, as much as it's hard for Lamar Jackson to operate behind this offensive line, maybe it is for Todd Monken too. But I'm hoping that behind the scenes, if he has the same issues that we have, namely with Daniel Fa'alele, that maybe he's spoken up about it because he is the offensive coordinator. So, but 1000%, I agree with the fact that the creativity has taken a dive. It's not as much there. I do commend Todd Monken that he always takes accountability. He always says it starts with me. He talks about how he regrets some of his play calls that he's made. I want him to have a better feel for who has the hot hand. I want him to feel okay about leaving Derrick Henry on the field. Like, let's stop taking him off. I don't know if he's worried about getting the ball, around to so many different weapons, but the situational play calling, the creativity, and having a feel for the game is for sure squarely on Todd Monken, that I think that this anonymous player is speaking to.
Yeah, and a feel for your personnel, right? Just to reiterate that once more, like I feel like that's one of the things. Remember when we analyzed Harbaugh's post-game comments in our post-game show leading into the bye, and you talked about it further, of course, on that Monday that you were solo and I was off on vacation. It's like having a feel for the personnel that you have is interesting because clearly we can all agree they should have gotten a half yard last week.
Yeah.
They should have punched that in the first time, the second time, and then ultimately when they went to Derrick Henry on fourth down, it was just a disaster. But just focusing on second and third down, right? Going back to this past week, week 6, you should get that in, yes. But they don't have the personnel right now to give you confidence that even should is the operative word there, right? And so that's what, just to expand on what you're maybe alluding to with the feel, like have a feel for your personnel right now. And it doesn't seem that that's where they've come up short. It's almost like they're overly confident or naive in the sense that like, we have the personnel. You don't.
Yes.
You don't. Now, did you last year?
Well, he personnel with Derrick Henry. I didn't like that he took Derrick Henry off the field after he got them all the way to the one with basically 5 runs in a row. There's that issue where it's like stick with the hot hand in Derrick Henry. There's a separate issue of benching the guards. And so it still seems to me that they should be able to punch it in from the one.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It should.
And so he should be pushing if he feels like Daniel Fa'alele can't do it because he keeps falling on the ground. Hopefully he's speaking up and being like, guys, we got to change it here.
Get you somebody, give somebody else a chance because you're supposed to be able to get that extra half yard. You should feel confident as the play caller, the head coach, anybody who's involved in that collaborative decision to strategize for a tush push to get a half yard on a gotta have it moment in a game that you're behind and hanging on by a thread in without your QB1. You should be able to feel confident that the Mark Andrews tush push is something that's going to get you home. But they can't right now. And so find somebody that'll allow you to feel that confidence again, because that has to happen at the National Football League level. And that's not something they've been able to call upon right now.
And something else that anonymous players said is that like when he came in the first year, like people didn't know what they were going to do, but now it's the third year. So they straight up called out the creativity in the third year because now things are starting to look the same. So let's move on.
My last thing, sorry, the last thing I'll say is if that doesn't jog your memory back to the end of the Greg Roman era, I don't know what does, right?
Because it started out really well in 2019 and then it went stale. They didn't have a passing game. So he comes in and he helps rejuvenate the passing game, but it looks like it's gone stale again. So you got to keep moving. And that's what Andy Reid does totally well. I mean, he's been in the league forever. You never know what he's going to do. So we've been tough on the defensive side, I think justifiably with the 32 ranked defense in many categories. But anonymously, these guys were standing up for Zach Orr, and they have a specific example of why they are. So when they're sticking up for him, the Sun article says, in an attempt to explain such a troubling trend of things not translating from practice to the game, because the players were saying that Zach is putting them in the right position, at least in this article. So he said that one player recalled one of 4 successful fourth down conversions from the Chiefs games. Remember, the Chiefs were just rolling. They always had four downs every single time. So here's what happened. He says the Ravens offense ran a play in practice that caught Orr's defense by surprise the week going into the Kansas City game. They didn't stop it in practice. Kansas City ran the exact play. Orr knew what was coming, schemed against it properly, and the Chiefs still converted. One veteran defensive player said, quote, "It's hard for me to comprehend at times. The game is a different environment. If you go in there scared to make a mistake, you're probably going to make a mistake. When the poor results keep happening, it's almost like the pressure is building and guys are more scared to make a mistake. A mistake's not going to kill you, but these little mistakes all over the place continuing, it's just like a snowball. It messes with you mentally," close quote. Then it says another offensive player, quote, "It makes Zio look bad when he's calling the right stuff." They added stuff in place of a different word, I do believe. So they're saying that Zach Orr is calling the right stuff. And even in this case in Kansas City, had him in the exact correct place because they practiced against the Ravens office, and they still couldn't stop it.
So Kyle Hamilton gave an interview over the bye week. Maybe you've listened to it by now. It was with Andrew Siciliano for Yahoo. It was on the Monday leading into the bye. Have you listened to it?
I didn't listen to it, no.
Yeah, there was not a whole lot in there. It was a great interview by Kyle, I thought, and it was on behalf of something he was doing with Toyota. But a very discreet, I thought, takeaway from it was Kyle's thoughts on the defense as a whole so far. And again, it wasn't something that pops off the page at you, but he simply said, we have got to get back to playing more freely. And I just found that to be interesting, because when you don't play freely, you end up overanalyzing. To use his words, you end up overanalyzing and underperforming.
Mm-hmm.
And now some of that might be due to, we know that no other team leading into the bye, Sarah, or leading into week 6, had leaned on rookies, and in some cases, undrafted rookies, more so than the Ravens, or excuse me, aside from Cleveland, no other team had leaned on rookies through the first 6 weeks than the Ravens. So that has something to do with it. But this also has something to do with it too. I think this snippet from The Sun in their reporting.
Yeah.
Guys got to get back to playing more freely. And as much as you want to point the finger at Zach, which I think some of which
I still do. I don't totally absolve him, right? Because sometimes it doesn't look like they are in the right position, or he's leaning into that fear and having them play super soft coverage.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
And it seems as if alignment or communication, and again, there's been multiple green dot wearers already this year, so we want to acknowledge that. But it seems as if that at times there's this last minute communication that's being streamlined. And it affects alignment. It affects communication leading up to the snap, so on and so. We've seen that on film a number of times. So yeah, certainly not absolving him, but it's interesting context as they get ready to go into the second half of the season and become a lot more healthy. Hopefully, knock on wood, with guys returning and hopefully gelling more on all levels. This is going to be really interesting to watch, given this perspective now.
Okay, so just as we're talking about the psychological part, because they're talking about how the guys are afraid to make mistakes and it's snowballing. Where did it begin? Here we go. Quote, this is one veteran player anonymously says, it was the Bills game that put a beating on us mentally, where it felt like everything was ending, even though it was the first game. When we have so much time to recover such a long season and we let that carry over. He goes on to, or now an offensive player says, we got a lot of young guys around here. They haven't been around to build up battle scars. So it may get to them mentally, emotionally in their head. Offensive linemen, we have a lot of young guys. So this is an offensive lineman talking. Offensive O-linemen, we have a lot of young guys. He says special teams, especially on defense right now. Okay, so maybe saying it everywhere. You're already gonna have nerves regardless. And then if things aren't going well, you're gonna have the outside noise. It's there's a lot stacked up against you. I think that's the difference from the past. We had more, here comes the word again, mature teams. Okay, now hold on a second. Let me finish this. Well, this is the last thing that I got. So in an effort to get things moving, here's one thing that happened. The story says, in the week leading up to the September 28th loss to the Chiefs, punter Jordan Stout posted an Instagram story of Lamar Jackson sitting in front of a video game console, controller in hand, with the caption, hard at work. It was a harmless, friendly jab, but 2 days later, the quarterback hobbled off the field at Arrowhead Stadium with the hamstring injury he suffered, another deflating 37-20 loss. When the team returned to Owings Mills, the toys had disappeared. The Ravens promptly removed several recreational staples from the locker room, including the basketball hoop near Jackson's and Flowers' stalls. The ping pong table that rookie Buchanan and Mike Green often battled on after practice, the once popular cornhole boards, and yes, the video game consoles often lit up with intense rounds of Super Smash Bros. That regularly drew small crowds of teammates late in the day. All of it was gone. And then the players went on and said it was the coaches that had removed them. They also mentioned that those toys had been taken away before. This isn't like the only season, but it was in an effort to like get people to focus and all of that. So I really don't like the like somehow the video game led to Lamar being hurt. Like the way it was put together there, kind of like the juxtaposition of a video game and then he got hurt. Like him getting hurt is because of the offensive line. It's not because of a video game. That being said, on a more high level look at it, they clearly were mentally beat down after the Bills game, not getting better, and the toys were removed from the locker room. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm with you. I want to more so focus in on the carryover, the apparent carryover from 6+ months ago at the time. If you go back to week 1 and the rematch of the Bills, that's
6 weeks, not months.
That's a problem. Well, no, I'm talking. So sorry, I'm talking about.
So you're talking about the playoff game.
Sure. I mean, that's kind of the way. I mean, the way I'm interpreting this is, and first of all, are we understanding this as a veteran offensive lineman that gave this snippet?
No, because as I kept reading it, he said, O-line, we have a lot of young guys, special teams, especially on defense right now. So he started talking about everywhere.
Because if it was a veteran offensive lineman, I think we like know who that would be. Yes. No. So that's kind of concerned. It's one perspective, right? It's one perspective. But I think we know how loud of an offseason it was. And I think we all remember how gutting it was on that January night in Buffalo. Not only the way that it ended, but what happened in the first half that put them behind the 8 ball. And then we watched what happened in the fourth quarter on that opening night of the season. Like that's to me, that might be the most, I don't know if revealing is the right word, but that's my biggest takeaway thus far from what the Suns uncovered here in the last however many days that went into it. Clearly, I mean, they spoke to over 20 sources. You said 25 at the top to be specific. So that to me is that's significant.
Yeah, and just to be clear, this story is referencing the Bills week 1 game. It's not referencing the playoff game. I know you're personally drawing that connection, which I get because they had just lost that game. So to lose in that fashion the first game of the next season, it's like reasonable to draw that conclusion. But yeah, I think that as hard as we have been on all 3 of these coaches, Harbaugh, Zach Orr, and Todd Monken, there is obviously there to be this bad. It needs it's happening everywhere, right? It's like, and to hear that the players, and this goes back, I'm sure, years, to hear that the players were mentally messed up after week 1. Like, you should be able to bounce back. Like, you should be able to bounce back and just absorb that. But according to these anonymous players, like mentally, they're still in the back of their head. Here's what's funny, Bobby, and I said this to you. I wanted to come back from the bye with like this positive headline today, being rejuvenated, and I still feel this way. Like, they've been talking to these guys, obviously, prior to this week. I have optimism that things are going to turn as we come back from the bye week. Do I think it's going to turn into the Super Bowl contender? No. But I have optimism that they're going to go on a run. And I had like 5 reasons ready, right? That they're going to have a lighter schedule. Their first 5 of their 6 opponents to begin the season were playoff teams. 1 of the next 6 opponents were last year's playoff teams. So it's a lighter schedule. You're going to have a lot of healthy players returning, including Lamar Jackson, which is massive. Probably Pat Ricard, Roquan Smith, Chidobe Awuzie. You have a weak AFC North. We're going to get to that a little bit later. They all know inside that we're going to get to this too, a report, but they all know that Eric DeCosta is making phone calls and he's got a lot of cap space to make a trade if he wants to. And then the defense started to turn things around with the trade after Alohi Gilman. So there are 5 reasons that I was ready to get on today and be like, hey, there's plenty of optimism to turn this thing around. But this lets us know what's been going on behind closed doors. And they better get into this optimistic theme that I was just talking about. They can't. This right here is so much negativity and so much in their heads, talking about how week 1, they were already in their heads. And on defense, they're just like afraid to make mistakes now. You can see it in the way they play. They're so afraid to make a mistake. I hope that they use this bye and look at these 5 reasons to be optimistic, because that mentality will continue to have you lose against bad teams like the way they lost to the Houston Texans, even if they didn't have Lamar. Like, they shouldn't have been beaten down and rolled over like that. They should have been competitive. We're seeing other teams being competitive without their starting quarterbacks. So they got to get right. They got to get their mentals right, as one Seahawks running back used to say.
You know what? I agree with all your 5 reasons for whatever it's worth, right? I agree with those. My big question is, even if those guys acknowledge it, and Kyle Hamilton did in that interview with Siciliano to start off the bye week, is there enough resilience in that locker room for the second consecutive year in much of a deeper hole compared to last year? Is there a collective universal belief that they're capable of digging themselves out? I don't know.
They better.
I don't know.
They better.
But the fact that that's not and maybe it is for you, but to me, that's not like, it doesn't feel as if that's a guarantee that the answer is yes. And man, if that's not the biggest indictment in terms of where they're at right now, maybe that changes. Maybe the body language changes coming out of the bye. They have an opponent that beat a Saints team that's going nowhere fast this past weekend, just yesterday, in the Chicago Bears that are coming to town on Sunday. And to your point, the defense seemed like it was playing a little bit more calmer with the presence of Alohi now in play, freeing up Kyle Hamilton. Guys are getting healthier. Lamar will hopefully be back on the other side of the ball, which is the most important piece of this entire puzzle. Maybe. Good stuff. And by the way, great reporting. And I'm sure that a lot went into that for the Baltimore Sun to have that released earlier this morning. So shout out to the Sun, and you can go check that out again on their on the Baltimore Sun site and across all of their social platforms. We want to say thanks to Manta Sleep for their continued support and the restart of our partnership, one of our longest standing partnerships. And we're back with Manta officially. And the Manta Sleep mask, man, and by the way, it's not just the Manta Sleep mask either. Matter of fact, Sarah, do you know what's en route to our doorsteps?
I saw the email. Our sound masks are on the way.
Not only is a sound mask on the way, though.
Oh, there's more.
You've got a Manta white noise machine coming as well.
Oh, baby. My kids will love that.
That's what you see on screen right here as well. So we want to say thank you and a welcome back to our longest standing partner. These sleep masks give you true 100% blackout for a deeper sleep. You already know I brought it with me on the road in Banff, which we'll get to a little bit later on. Canadian Rockies, can't wait to tell you all about it. They give you C-shaped eye cups for unbeatable side sleep comfort. 0 pressures applied to your eyelids or lashes. You've got advanced materials built in for ventilation and unmatched breathability. This is the brand new mask that's en route to us as we speak. We can't wait to tell you about it. The Manta Sleep Mask Pro has been my go-to literally since we started partnering with these guys like 3 years ago at this point. The Silk and the Sleep masks are sort of your OG models. And again, this sound mask, new gen, is literally brand new. And we'll pull it up on the screen just to give you guys a feel for what this new item looks like and consists of. But yeah, Sarah, I'm pumped.
I know you are. The question is what sound will you be pumping into your ears at night? Because
I don't know. Well, I feel like you know what's funny about that? I kind of feel like the noise machine will cover that. So maybe there'll just be multiple sources of sound.
Yeah, there you go.
That's enhancing my sleep. But here you go. I mean, look at the 3D. I haven't even dug in this far yet, so I'm learning with all of you guys.
You're excited to get it. I know you are.
The 3D knit mesh design for ventilation. I mean, if you really want to get into the science behind this, how about the 24-hour battery life at 100% volume? Take your pick. It's got everything and one of many features that we hope you'll consider. And if you do find something you like, just know, as always, as you can see in our show notes and as a pinned comment and streaming on the bottom ticker, if you use code VAULT10 at checkout, that's VAULT10 at checkout, that's going to get you 10% off your next purchase. So shout out Manta. We're great. We're thrilled to have him back. And we're going to continue to tell you about all things Manta in the coming weeks. Super chats, and look who is back. Man, this is a welcome sight. A welcome sight to have DHB Senior, Douglas H. Brown Sr., Sarah, is back in the building, and he left this super chat 2 hours plus before showtime.
He did this a few times last week, but then today I noticed he's actually here live. So I'm so happy about this. Douglas says, I hopefully can be here in the live chat today. Have tried to arrange my schedule to empty our family time. I don't know what he was trying to enjoy. Oh, enjoy. Thank you. Enjoy our family time. Love you guys and gals and guys. We love you, Douglas.
You know it. Great to see you. Great to hear from you. Sudesh says the Ravens will go 11-0 and win the AFC North.
Here we go.
Sharing in your optimism. Ginger Seamus says,
I was going 11-0. I don't know that I'm that optimistic, but I am optimistic they'll go on a little run.
Taking a page out of your optimism.
Yeah.
Ginger Seamus says, hope you all had a great time off. Kadri and Sam with a fire emoji. So looks like he endorsed Friday's show. We do want to say thanks again to Q and Samuel and James and Glenn, who really took care of us at the end of last week. We hope you guys enjoyed our fill-in, I guess, back-to-back days, fill-in shows. And I think it could be a sign of things to come in the future for upcoming vacations that we have. We thank you to those guys for holding down the fort. Captain Hard's in the building.
Can't believe no moves were made during the bye as far as adding players. Lamar being frustrated kind of makes sense now. Well, I do think they need to get a body on the outside linebacker position group, but a bigger trade. I feel like there are still teams that are in denial that they may need a trade because they're not making it to the playoffs. Maybe the Ravens are one of those teams in denial. I don't know.
Right? Yeah, you never know. Just so everybody's marking their calendars accordingly. 2 weeks from tomorrow, that's the 21st. 2 weeks from tomorrow's the 21st. 2 weeks from tomorrow is the 4th. And at 4 p.m. Eastern is the trade deadline for the season. So something to keep in mind in terms of what they're operating under. DHB Senior is back, and he says, quote, feeling refreshed, which is something I said earlier on, is a tall order, Bobby. We're here, though.
Love it.
You know, I feel the same way. I'm on mountain time right now. Maybe you are too, Sarah, after your Utah getaway. Had a little bit of a difficult logistical Sunday getting back. So DHB Senior, I feel you. I'm just trying to lean into Sarah's optimism, trying to push myself through the fog. Here's Diamond Bull in the house.
He says, I got money on Rashad Bateman being one of these guys that is a, quote, source. First quote sounds just like him. Does it not? It's freaking
Can you go back to what that was?
It was freaking Lamar Jackson. Could you?
Oh.
Yeah, that one. I'm assuming.
You never know. Thanks, Diamond Bull. D-Rod's in the house and said he's celebrating 7 months of channel membership, by the way, meaning he's been with us from the jump since we rolled out that feature. Appreciate you, D-Rod. Love the hat. Love the profile photo. He says the offense is so predictable, it's not even funny. Switch it up a little bit. We see an end around with Zay almost every week. Got to switch things up. And I'm sure feeling far from refreshed is our friend Biggie 3. And that's the Rave himself, who's been on a tear in the Discord really all week long. And he's getting ready for week 8, Sarah. Here he is.
I played a video from him last week, Bobby, while you were gone. Oh, boy, was that. He had a point to make, and he did it in a very entertaining manner. So he says they're blaming Todd, but John has Daniel blocking. So Todd is trying to dodge this bad blocking. Give Todd, Ben, and Emery. I promise calls will be better. Listen, for sure I hear you. It's not all one thing or the other. Todd can be more creative regardless of the personnel. He can we don't need to pass every time Justice Hill comes in. Like, we don't need to run every time Derrick Henry's out there, or close to every time. Like, there are things like that. We don't need to do a push twice in a row. So, but yes, the personnel needs to change, and Todd should have a voice in that, though.
Yeah. And yet again, just a reminder that Emery has not logged one regular season snap as a rookie. He didn't have one rep throughout the entire offseason program. That includes all of training camp as he recovered from his labrum procedure that he underwent, I believe, after the combine. So to kind of sit here
and last week was the first time he was cleared to even do a pass blocking rep.
So although this is, if I'm counting correctly, I believe this is week 3 since he was activated off of NFI. This is week 3, I believe. So he's within that window, but to expect him to come out there and be a savior at guard, a position that, by the way, he would be transitioning to at the NFL level after playing tackle at LSU. That's a tall talk about a tall order, like DHB Senior was saying earlier. That's a tall ask. Kevin Bonham Jr., what's up, KBJ? He says, who can call plays with 72 and 77? I think this is Cap. I watched that play when Lamar killed Cincy falling out of bounds. 77 looked lost on that play. Monken is not the problem. Was that the ragdoll play that was from last year? Sarah, I think he's probably referencing.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the all-time Lamar plays. And then I think he found likely in the end zone. Is that the play that you're referring to, Kevin? Let us know. Robbie Pate, for you.
Robbie says, anonymous players and staff speaking out just emphasizes the dysfunction in the locker room. I actually agree. I should have said that earlier. Time for a coaching change. The fact that they're speaking like this anonymously, it's like, oh, I don't know. And it's how many it is, but it's more than one, obviously. It's more than one.
And it kind of goes without saying, right? Like, yeah, we could have led with that. I think it's pretty obvious. The fact that it's the Monday after the bye. Granted, all these conversations, I would imagine, probably happened during the bye. Right?
Or leading up to it. Or
perhaps leading up to the bye. Yeah, not sure what the specific timeline on it was, but you make a good point there, Robbie, for sure. Rave says, hey, I'm done listening. These some soft mofos. Sweet. Who are you referring to? I would assume.
I think we both know. I think we both know.
Captain is back.
Captain says, you can't be strict and eventually lighten up, but you can't be a relaxed coach and become strict. So, John, taking that stuff out, I don't know how the players are going to take him changing his coaching style.
DHB Senior endorsing you. Tell him, Sarah, he writes. Don't you feel better about Douglas being back? He kind of gets concerned all of a sudden when Eric, Captain, and PHB, and I'm not even talking about from a donor standpoint, just when they're not here, it kind of like begs the question, well, what's going on right now? So great to have you back, DHB Senior. And Captain, he's got a lot to say to start off this post-bye.
He says, also, you can't repair mental scars. You need a new voice and coaching staff who doesn't have that stain on them. Only time will tell.
Dre Dog's in the house, and he writes, I just don't believe in this team, plain and simple. And that's interesting, Sarah, because I think that's representative, Dre's thoughts here, of a portion of this fan base that say, hey, we acknowledge those 5 points that you gave earlier on in terms of reasons for optimism. But I don't know if there's some of them are like, hey, show me. You got to show me first. And I think we both, I certainly recognize that, Dre, for sure. Nate Campbell's here.
Nate says, Vault fam, it's official. I'm going to be a dad. Yes. Congratulations, Nate. You are in for a world of change, and both in good and bad ways, but mostly good. A lot of people, when they think of having kids, they think of kids stuck in this toddler stage, which is a challenge sometimes, but it's also so wonderful. Oh, and the infant stage, Nate, I love the infant stage, and I love the teenager stage. Listen, you're in for a world of happiness. Let me just put it that way. Woo.
Nate, congrats, man. Let us know the due date and how you found out and all that extra fun stuff that I'm sure is going to be filling your life and filling your cup over the next several months. So congrats to the Campbell family on this Monday. Dana Kennedy writes, my wife is a diehard Steelers fan, so I haven't heard the end of that. But Dana,
you had Joe Flacco helped you out on that. Joe Flacco helped you out.
I was going to say, at least you had Thursday night, right?
Yes.
A game that they very much had in control until they didn't. Eileen Nolan. And by the way, I wish I could say I watched that game, Sarah, but I was in Canada and every single TV had one game and one game only. And that is the ALCS. The Toronto Blue Jays, they got a Game 7 tonight, and the entire country, as they should be, were only focused and solely focused on one game. So I could not find the freaking game. Drove me nuts because it was a classic, an instant classic between two 40-year-olds at quarterback. Eileen Nolan's in the house today.
She says, taking away toys sounds childish and demeaning.
And Lewis gets us fully caught up to speed before we bring on Jack here in a minute. And Lewis writes, football is still an out. Regardless, missed you both. Football is still an out. What does that mean?
Like maybe maybe an escape from life?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know, maybe.
That makes sense. Partner, congratulations to your Cougars. Big congratulations to you for your W over the weekend.
We're still 15 minutes out from that, though.
Oh, I'm sorry. He's coming on at 2 o'clock. See,
no, he's coming on at 1 o'clock.
He's coming on at 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
Wow.
I got you.
Wow.
I got you.
And did you see how I was milking super chats thinking, oh, yeah, he's coming on at 12:45. Yep, that would be Mountain Time.
I was like, let's move so we can get to the next topic.
That would be Mountain Time, Bobby.
pages.
Sarah, I will give you the keys to the car here. Take us home.
Here's the keys. Listen, it's too bad. Maybe Rave Kingdom left because this is the news that he's been waiting for. And I accidentally just knocked myself off the screen. I am back. Here I am, baby. Okay. A very long awaited benching that we've been talking about, quite frankly, since the Raiders game of week 2 last year. John Harbaugh heading into the bye on Monday. He didn't seem very happy that the Ravens did not punch it in from the 1-yard line with 3 different tries last game against the Rams, nor should he be. And he actually seemed like, Bobby, he might be at the end of his rope with some players along the offensive line. And he said, listen, when asked if there would be a change across the offensive line, he said everything's on the table. When he was specifically asked about some of the guys that are behind Daniel Fa'alele, he said, yeah, those guys, it'll be a little mini tryout during the bye week. We've heard big talk about the offensive line before with no real changes. But Jeff Zrebeck took some mailbag questions. And he thinks this time it might be different. So he was asked by a reader at The Athletic, do you get the sense that they will be looking to make any changes along the offensive line during the bye week? I know Harbaugh said everything is on the table, but it also seems that some players such as Fa'alele are quote-unquote Harbaugh guys who, regardless of what we see on a play-by-play basis, won't actually be moved from the lineup. Okay, that was from a reader, Stephen J.
Yeah.
Here's what Jeff says. He says, I do get that sense. I know Harbaugh has said he was considering offensive line changes before week 6 and nothing changed. But it wasn't hard to detect the frustration in his comments after Sunday's game about that goal line sequence. And again, during his comments Monday. Heading into week 6, I would have probably told you that I thought Fa'alele was the better player than Andrew Voorhees. However, Voorhees was much better against the Los Angeles Rams. And they also did a lot more outside zone. So maybe that helped him. And they've had more success with that. So then Jeff goes on to say, I'd be moderately surprised if Ben Cleveland and or Corey Bullock weren't given a shot to start after the bye. So, Bobby, we've been asking for it. We've been practically begging for it. And even though some of the anonymous players also took aim at Todd Monken, 2 things can be true at once. Todd Monken may need to be more creative, but also some changes may need to be made at the offensive line position, especially guard. Are you with Jeff? Do you also get the sense that a change will actually be made at right guard when we come back and watch them play against the Bears?
Well, it's hard to have a sense for that when John Harbaugh kind of continues to, one, say things like he did leading into the Rams game, which is that everything's on the table, which is what you've alluded to, and then not make any change and get very similar results. But knowing that now Lamar, hopefully much more healthy, of course, coming off the hamstring and the extra time that he's had, which will be 3 weeks when it's all said and done, if he does indeed return for Sunday. Hopefully him being back will send that warning signal throughout whatever part of John Harbaugh's mind it needs to get through to him that something has to change. It's beyond time. And so, yeah, do I have a sense? No. But can I have some hope? I guess.
I have a little bit of a sense with Jeff here also.
Okay.
Given how frustrated he was, John Harbaugh was. In the past, Would you agree that John Harbaugh has more defended Daniel Fa'alele? Yes, he has. And this time, he wasn't defending him. He did say either a week or 2 weeks ago that he's like, hey, if you didn't have the development that we expected, maybe it's time to give somebody else a try. I remember that quote because I was in Dallas at the time and we talked about it. Okay, but did he have enough time to make that change before the bye? Then when he was already leaning that way, saying, you're just not making the development we thought you would, which I think for sure he's got to be talking about either Voorhees or Daniel Fa'alele, but especially Fa'alele. And then he's like super ticked. No, we should be getting in. We should be getting in 3 tries from the 1 where he's letting his frustration out. That to me, I'd be with Jeff. I'm telling you, Bobby, I will be on my Twitter. And for all of the reporters that are there, and they always give a report pre-game of who's along the offensive line, I swear on my life, if Daniel Fa'alele is still in there, I'm going to be with Jeff. I will be moderately surprised, but very upset.
I totally understand both of your logics on this.
Yeah.
And I see what you're getting at here in terms of the tone shift.
Yes.
Definitely. But I still it's like he stood by him.
You don't want to get right? Hopes up. That's what I'm feeling.
It's just like he has been so loyal to him to a fault. And we've seen this with other players in the past that I can't sit here and be like, yeah, Sarah, that's gotta be it. It's gotta be, this is the time. Like, I just don't have that confidence that something's going to change. Now, with the timeline that you've I think you've put this forth really wisely in the sense that it would have been a short week to make that change going into Rams week with a different quarterback, perhaps 2 different quarterbacks that they were planning on playing, like we heard about, right? And they did end up playing 2. We know that. But now that you have that window of time, and now you have a new fresh week starting, install day will be, of course, coming up on Wednesday. All the time that you had to prepare for Chicago, knowing that Lamar's coming back, it would make a lot of sense. I just can't quite get there yet.
Okay. Well, this is another reason why they need to. Okay. Check this out. This chart came out while we were out. This is not coming from Jeff. Maybe we can take that banner off. There was this graph that came out from @FBall_insights. Okay. So Football Insights, where they look at how often a quarterback leaves the pocket. Okay. But not only that they leave the pocket, but the reasons for leaving the pocket. I love this chart. It probably isn't surprising to any of us, but validating that Lamar Jackson, number 1 in the league of the percentage of the times that he has had to leave the pocket. Or I shouldn't say had to, that he left the pocket. Okay. So he's number 1 in the league at 30%. But then you need to drill down and say, well, why is he leaving the pocket? Bobby, it is also number 1 in the league that he is leaving the pocket because he is getting, the pass rush is getting to him. He's getting pressure. Of the 30 times that he leaves, the 30% of the times that he leaves, almost 70% of the time, the reason is because of the pass rush and pressure. 70% of the time. Go look at Josh Allen. He leaves 26% of the time, but only 47% because of the pass rush. Patrick Mahomes, he leaves 26% of the time, but only 27% of that is because of the pass rush and pressure. Look at how dark blue that is compared to everybody else for Lamar Jackson. Now, bail is the first one. Bail is you leave not because of somebody made you, it's because you chose to. Lamar has only bailed 8.3% of the time. Then they have the boot and the roll. One is going to the strong side, one is going to the opposite side. That's usually a little bit more, oftentimes, like the bootleg that can be designed. Lamar Jackson leads the league in leaving the pocket and then leads the league of leaving the pocket by far because he's pressured to do so. Yes, the offensive line, not just because of that 3-down sequence against the Rams. It's because you need to protect your franchise quarterback.
Yeah. The only counter, I guess the only context that I'm thinking about with this chart And first of all, the numbers are the numbers. Like you said, that 70% number. What was the next closest?
Okay, let me pull this back up.
Because you tallied up. Yeah, sorry. If you could.
That's right. Actually, let's go to this. You're asking for pressure, not just leaving the pocket.
Yeah.
The pressure, this person went through and got the amount of times they leave total because of pressure. Lamar 21, then Caleb, then Hurts, then May.
Okay.
Then Baker, then Allen, then Jaden, Love, Radler, Ward, Herbert, Dart, Stroud, Fields.
Yeah, I got you. So what I was just basically trying to do was I was looking for one area of perhaps optimism or context or whatever, because the chart that you had up at first was weeks 1 through 6. Obviously, he didn't play week 5 and 6. So
but it's percentages. It's still percentages.
Correct. Right.
Yeah, it's not raw total, so it still should translate.
It does. It does. And I was looking for an out for them, right? I was looking for something to hang your hat on for this offensive line, but it's all percentages. So even with that, that's not a list that you want to be on. And that list is also indicative of probably why he's been hurt.
Well, so that's on the offensive side of things. Jeff Zrebiec and me are anticipating a change at right guard and would be moderately surprised if it doesn't happen. Meanwhile, Eric DeCosta is hard at work, as he should be, trying to get in some help. So thank you for changing that for me. I was looking for the right button.
This is hysterical. We're both on mountain time.
Audio only people will not know what we're talking about, but the video people probably notice that I'm like trying to get the right things on stage. Anyway, Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network did an article over the week while we were out, detailing what's going on the trade market. And he wrote in an article, he says, the Ravens have been calling around the league for defensive help, which makes sense given GM Eric DeCosta's trade-happy ways and their laundry list of injuries. So Eric DeCosta is out there. He is trying to make a trade. I've said it before. You just have to get in another body in the outside linebacker room. But in terms of how much resources you put into it, two things are going to impact that. Number one, can you get somebody that you feel like will be here long-term? Because you can invest, say, like a second round or something more hefty than a conditional 6th or a conditional 5th, right? If you're going to put in that much resources, you want to make sure it's like a Roquan Smith situation where you feel like you're going to sign them long-term. Number two is, do you want to do it based off of, do you really have a chance to make the playoffs? And so he might be holding off based off of if they can win 1, maybe 2 of the next 2 games, starting off with the Bears. Meanwhile, in that same article, because we got 3 minutes till Jack is here, or excuse me, I just want to put this out. Because Miami Dolphins are abysmal right now, just got beat down by the Browns this weekend, which will.
And by the way, no changes expected. Rappaport, other NFL insiders for the Dolphins' perspective, because the Ravens will see them Halloween weekend or Thursday leading into Halloween weekend. No changes expected there, head coach and quarterback, despite where they are, and 2, benching Tua as they did yesterday.
Question for you: will the head coach be there?
What do you mean by that?
You said according to the head coach, and I'm saying, will the head coach still have a job?
Well, it was according to the NFL insiders.
Yes.
Like Rappaport and others, they're saying, oh, are you talking about come Ravens Dolphins? Will Mike McDaniel be there?
I'm saying you had said that the NFL insiders tweeted this based off of what the coach and quarterback said, correct? Did I hear that right?
No, based on their sources, they're not expecting any change within Miami. And I know Ravens fans can empathize with that frustration given what's going on there.
Okay. Well, they might be a little delusional, but maybe we're delusional here in Baltimore. Maybe we're all delusional together, because according to Jonathan Jones, he saw that Matthew Judon was a healthy stretch for the Dolphins. And he's like, maybe that indicates that they're keeping him healthy for a pick swap. So he thinks that Judon could be traded. And to be honest with you, in that same report, Rap Sheet named several guys that could be up. So he talked about a lot of the guys at the Miami Dolphins. There's Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, and of course, Matthew Judon. He talks about New England Patriots outside linebacker Anthony Jennings. He's been demoted on their depth chart. I don't know that we wanted demotion there. And then the New York Jets outside linebacker Jermaine Johnson. I mean, there's people out there, but this is the problem: is EDC, as he reported here, I'm sure is working the phones, but you got to have two to tango. And if Ian Rappaport is reporting correctly that the Miami Dolphins are like, yeah, we're not giving anybody up. Like, they may be delusional, thinking, hey, we can turn this around. We can turn this around. So hopefully EDC can make something happen. Oh, and one more thing in that article. People have asked about Simmons over at the Titans. Yeah, there's a lot of paragraphs saying, no, the Titans are open for business, but not for Simmons. So that's what they're saying. So Eric DeCosta is going to have to work with some of these other GMs and where they might be at. Bobby, I might have to turn things up a notch here. For our next guest.
You doing a wardrobe change?
Just an addition, maybe just an addition.
All right.
We just need to turn things up a notch a little bit around here.
Here we go. Cougar Nation.
Here we go. I mean, I already had a little BYU on, but we gotta bring it up a notch.
I was gonna say, look at you.
I feel like I'm ready for our next guest.
I think you're flexing on everybody right now because you can probably set this up. Not only were you in Utah, ironically, you were in Utah. You did not attend the game, but our next guest did. And for the first time, sure seems like he had himself a heck of an experience. Shall we bring him on?
Oh, I'm so ready for this. This whole segment is to indulge me. Just to indulge me. And I hope that all these Ravens listeners can just let me have my moment with Jack, okay? Let me just have my moment with Jack.
We'll get back to the content on the other side. I'm sure maybe we'll even talk a little bit of Ravens, too, because he's a lifelong Ravens fan. He's the CEO and founder of Snapback Sports. He's going to be a dad coming up in the next few months. Congratulations to the Settleman family, Miami's newest resident over the last few months. Jack, welcome back to the program. Great to have you, brother.
What's going on? I'm pumped for this.
Jack, I saw you at the bookstore. Where's your gear, bro?
I'm cracking up because I wore it all. I just spent the last 72 hours in Provo, and now all I have is Hawaii because I went there in August, so it's been cleaned and washed. But I'm looking at all my BYU stuff. Although I did buy 3 hats, and my wife was like, "I said no more hats because we don't have room. Too many baby books, apparently." But oh my God, what a time! And just to bridge the gap, Kyle was there. RG3 was in Provo.
That's right.
Who else was there? I mean, it was just Ravens all. Obviously, Billick went to BYU. Like
Mark Ingram was there.
Mark Ingram. Yeah, I was blind. I knew there were more. Yeah. Everywhere I looked, I was like, some aspect of the Ravens is in my face here. So, Provo was just a time.
Okay, so just to pull back for people who couldn't care less about BYU, this was a monumental weekend for the Holy War, as we call it, when BYU goes up against Utah. And Jack, you probably saw it. Like, the statues on campus have to be wrapped and protected because Utah Ute fans will come in and splash red paint. And when I was there, it was before they started wrapping the statues, and I watched them clean it off. Can you give, as an outsider, when you went into Provo, could you feel the sports hatred between these two fan bases, and how does it compare to because you go around to lots of different experiences. Yeah. How did you feel like it compared?
Yeah, I mean, I went to Texas, so you've got Texas OU. I went to the A&M game last year, obviously growing up in the Ravens-Steelers rivalry. And I asked Kyle Van Noy about what's the difference between the two. What makes a great rivalry is, and people don't think about this, but it's so true when you say it, it's actually the similarities that make that rivalry so strong, because it's you could have just been born on the other side, right? These schools are 40 miles apart. They're 45 minutes apart. So it's that, the Mormon culture, but the religious culture, you do have the sober crowd versus the non-sober crowd, which adds an interesting aspect to the whole thing. But it's funny when we were interviewing people, it almost is underwhelming because it's so naturally ingrained in the rivalry versus like the game. Like we've seen the game, and that's been covered a million times by every single big network. And they've been trained to like say the meanest, nastiest stuff. It's just like a feeling when you're there. Those people do not like each other. And the craziest thing that happened is I was talking to a couple of BYU fans after the game, and one of them got hit in the face with a water bottle, and they start screaming back at the Utah fans. It was Kyle Whittington's family who threw the water bottle. Yeah.
That's the Utah. For those that don't know, that's the Utah Utes head coach. What?
And he was like, yeah, the police came up. They said, we got cameras. Do you want to file a report? And he said no. And that's just like the graciousness of the BYU fan base, which I love. But at the same time, I'm like, how could you not want to like, how funny of a rivalry is it when you file a report against the opposing head coach's family? So yeah, it was great. And the game was fantastic. And I said it was the loudest stadium that I've ever been in. And now, I don't like, you don't want to write out every single detail about it. I would say that's probably per person, right? Like when we were in Knoxville, you have 100,000 people. So it's 50% more people from like a pure sound standpoint. But that place was special. Highly, highly recommend. And like, look at the view. Like it's absurd. It's absurd.
Yeah. No, I loved going to school there every day. It was insane. Just to give people a feel for it, I want to play one of your videos, because what's like iconic, it's somewhat of a new tradition, but it's the fourth quarter kind of production that they have going on.
Oh my God.
I got your video from down on the field, and I don't even know how you got this access. I don't got this access. I got to talk to you. I'm like, Jack should have brought me along with him. What the heck? Get me down there. Here we go. From the field.
Oh, I see him.
Look, up on top.
Yeah, Cosmos up on top.
On the video boards. So they've got a video of him on the video boards doing these drums. And it just keeps like, I love how you say this perfectly. You're like, I don't even know where to look. There's so much going on.
No, it was crazy. Drone show.
Yeah. Then the fire comes out.
Yeah, fire's coming out of the flags.
And then now you can hear the fireworks.
There's almost too much going on.
Yeah, like to my buddies, like, look over there.
And then the sparklers come out. I mean, it literally doesn't end. It doesn't end.
It was crazy. The beauty of it, so many things. First of all, I'm gonna butcher his last name. I think his name is David, like Almada, something like that. So he's the game experience kind of.
I think
coordinator.
It's Amendola.
Yeah, it's something like
Danny
that.
Amendola, but they're not related. Yeah.
And so, the fact we were talking about this, like the fact that the crowd is sober actually plays into it, because a night game, right? Like you go to M&T Bank Stadium, it's like everyone is juiced. Yeah. The players come out, we're juiced, first kickoff. And then like that first TV timeout hits and you're kind of like, oh, we got 3 more hours of this. So there's no hangover. There's no real life hangover. And then they have curated, and I didn't notice it fully until this game. They've just curated like the best in-game experience, because even when they do the corporate sponsors, it's some like high energy activation. And in that clip alone, you see them play Turbulence. We're doing Skull. Then they go to like the Penn State song. Then they go to Seven Nation Army. They're like, I don't care. Like I'm stealing the best parts of every team's thing. And they just made it their own. And yeah, it was as someone who's been to M&T and knows when that stadium hits, right? Like for a Monday night game, for a Sunday night game, it really is, in my opinion, the best in professional, in the NFL. Yeah. But then you get the sleepy 1 o'clocks, right? And you get some that the energy drops. I can't imagine it dropping at BYU. It's just too good of an in-game experience.
No, you hit it on the head. I was going to point out like all the juice, and there's so much going on. There's so many videos I could have brought in, And Bobby, I know you could do this too. It's all 100% sober. Like, we LDS people, we can get up. People expect us to be boring because we're not drinking. And it's like, no, we don't need the alcohol. Like, we will match you and then outlast you without any alcohol. Like, we will bring it every single day.
The funniest part about that is them, we stormed the field, which is becoming a national story within itself because they got to pay the fine. And
I think they got a donor paying it.
Yeah, they got like crumble cookies is like paying the fine. And then we were interviewing fans on the field, and then we're like, wait, so what do you guys do after this? They're like, oh, we're going to bed. We got church in the morning. And I'm like, that's incredible. That's incredible.
Oh yeah.
It's so
Jack,
true.
you and I got to catch up on this another time, but one time I went to a LDS event that was sort of for the bit, but I also went with a subscriber of ours in the DC area. And he and I went, it was a young single adults event through the LDS church. And you'd never know. You walk in there's a dance party going on. I mean, everybody's just feeding off of each other. And so that's the only way I can really relate to what you're saying because I've never been out to BYU camp.
I will say this, the only thing that is different because they get up is like pregame is just naturally subdued because it's like they're talking, they're listening to music, pregame shows, eating, and you just don't have like that crazy drinking culture. Although, doing our research and doing our content the way we do, we found the booze and cougs. So there is a subset. Yeah, you can find it.
But you got to go look.
you got to go to lot 18. You got to walk 20 minutes away. But it's so funny because the reason they're so jumped up is because the amount of sugar that I consumed over the weekend, I mean, it's no alcohol, no vices, but you got to consider sugar a vice at some point. You get swig, you get the creamery, you get the cougar tail, like they'll get you juiced up.
And you'll get it at church too, because everybody will be baking cookies and like brownies and whatever, like for sure. That's a thing. So listen, this is the good news for us though. Ravens win it. They storm the field. AP top 25. They're now number 11. How do we feel about this, Jack? You feel like they were top 10 or is 11 good?
I think it's a fair ranking. I mean, I obviously love to pander to the crowd and be like, well, Miami lost and Ole Miss has a loss and Georgia Tech is as fraudulent as they come. The thing that most impressed me about my boy Air Bear, which is his new nickname here,
did you do that?
I said it in the moment and I was like, oh, I got to trademark that. But then, everyone ran with it and he should get his NIL dollars anyways. But I thought if they fell behind or needed him to throw, just being a true freshman against that defense, they'd be in trouble. It was his passing that really opened up the game for them. So they're a good team. They have a great path to get to the Big 12 championship now with Tech losing. Big one at Iowa State. But honestly, everywhere we've went this year, the teams have fared well. Hawaii's playing really well. Coastal Carolina is 3-1 in conference. So we like to call it the snapback bump. Hopefully, I mean, they didn't really need the bump given that they're undefeated, but hopefully they carry that. And I'm rooting for the Cougs. Okay,
so you do on Thursdays, I think you teased, you do a game day experience ranking. Is that what it's called?
Yeah. Yes. So
Is this right here? Let me see where this. Here we go. Right here.
Yeah.
Are you going to put BYU number 1?
We have to come together as a team. There were 4 of us there. We each input our rankings, and you'll see on Thursday. I mean, this is a big reveal. We want the outrage that people have around, the top 25 or power rankings to feel the same. So our 4 categories are fans and atmosphere, which we like to point out. It's not just the loudest; it's the vibe and the general fans and atmosphere. So like Rose Bowl ranks really high there. It's not the loudest stadium in the world. Uniqueness. What's the uniqueness of the event? And that could, have a million different factors. The food, we had Cougar Tails. And then like stadium, city, and gameplay. And obviously the game was fantastic. And you've seen my thoughts on Provo overall. So it's definitely going to be up there. I'm excited to see where it lands.
I can't wait to see stone cold sober BYU make it number 1 or at least in the top 3 of your list. I will be tuning in.
Jack, this is pressure for an early release, which we're not budging on, but it sure seems like it's There's a pressure being applied here.
Look, if I had it, I would give it, because that's what, I would tease categories like, oh, we had this, the food was in the top 5, but we haven't even come together and talked about it yet. We do like to because in the moment you're like, oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever seen. And then you got to compare and think about, what you have seen. But once we do that, you'll see where BYU landed.
We'll just get in one Ravens question for you. Do you feel like they're going to turn it around after this bye?
Oh man. I don't know. And I think that they don't know, which is why, as you're doing the trade targets and who is DeCosta talking to, like, in a funny way, like the Bears are like the Super Bowl for the franchise. Like if they lose, I really do think they'll probably wipe it clean. They won't trade for anyone. They'll get everyone off the books that they can. They could even fire Harbaugh after that game. And then if they win, I mean, you know what the division looks like. You honestly know what the NFL looks like. I mean, maybe the Chiefs are back, but everyone crowning the Chiefs because they dumped on the Raiders, I think, is a little premature. The same way that everyone crowned the Bills, after they dumped on, 3 of the worst teams in the NFL. Like, I get that Ravens fans want to be like, the world is ending, the sky is falling, and expectation-wise it is. But in reality, look at, like, everyone sees what's in front of them. And this is what I challenged my brother, who we were having this debate on, is like, I said, would you fire Harbaugh? Not should he be fired in the future, not is he the right guy, but like, do you genuinely think at this point in time, would you do it? And if so, like, what is the next move? And what he struggled with was, like, the instant reaction is, sure, fire him. They need something to change. But what change? Like, who do you bring in? There's no perfect fit, at this moment. And maybe they just need a spark. But maybe that spark is Lamar Jackson, and winning covers up a lot, as we know. And I know everyone's worst nightmare is they go on a run, they get to the playoffs, they lose in the first or second round. I get it. Trust me. I've lived through the last 10 years, of Harbaugh and then into Lamar. But I'm just not sure. Everyone is so keen on pointing out the problems. Yeah. I think everyone sees the problems, but point me to the solutions. Like, I'm a solution-based person. You want 77 off the O-line. Who are you replacing him with? Once you have those conversations, I'm comfortable being like, okay, let's try that. Let's do this. But I need solutions, not problems. We're 1-5. No one's like, yeah, Ravens are good. They had nothing to worry about. So, gun to my head, do they turn around? Yeah, because you have the best quarterback in the NFL, and all he does on the football field is win games. So if that's what turning around looks like, is winning games, yeah, I would honestly bet on that happening. The problem is the margin may be too slim. That is a little bit out of our control. So we'll see kind of like how that lands.
I think they've tripled. Probably fair to say they probably tripled the razor thin margin for error compared to last year, based on the hole that they've dug in the first 6 weeks. Jack, the last one for me along the Ravens lines is, speaking of solutions and whatnot. I mean, you've been steadfast in your support of Zach, for example, along the lines of the blame game that's being played here by many. And as we all look for a solution, whether it's from a fandom perspective, coverage, or anywhere else in between, I'd have to think that if you've seen some of the reports from over the week and that was during the bye, it's got to be validating based on the Suns' findings in terms of nobody's really out in Zach. And the same could be said now. 25 different sources is who Brian Wacker and a number of his reporters and his colleagues from the Baltimore Sun spoke to over the course of the week. And nobody really outed John Harbaugh. The only guy that was specifically mentioned in terms of critique was Todd Monken. So I got to wonder how you look at, the blame game in a sense from both a fan standpoint and also just, you cover this team in a sense as well, going into the week 8 and obviously a must-win game against Chicago.
Yeah. I mean, it's fandom, right? It's actually why we love this, and it's why we get to do this. Like, if there weren't fans who felt so passionately, then none of us would be here, right? I wouldn't have gotten to go to BYU, and you guys probably wouldn't have this amazing show. So fans don't act rational. And I actually love that. Like, I love that. It can get disturbing in your Twitter comment section, but for the most part, it is a positive. Like anything in life, a problem is normally between multiple people, right? It's rare that it's like 100% someone's fault. And so while people obviously paint me as like the defender of John Harbaugh and Zach Orr and, you know, Daniel Fa'alele, it's like, no, he's part of the problem, but you guys are only blaming them. How about the all pros who are not playing like all pros? How about just you want to, Nate Wiggins, you want to travel with your guy. I respect that. But you also have to win your matchup, right? And a lot of it can be scheme, but a lot of it is just getting your ass beat at the goal line. Like, oh, Monken should have done this at the goal line. How about you just put your guy's ass on the ground because it's a sport and Derrick Henry runs into the end zone? The Mark Andrews sneak has worked 85% of the time, but all of a sudden it doesn't work twice. And it's like, Monken's terrible. Well, you all wanted Roman fired, and then you wanted, and I get it. Like sometimes the passion, it is greener on the other side, but I just think it's a mix of, there's a lot going wrong here. And I think some people need to be more accountable to this is the scenario that scares me. It's not firing Harbaugh. I think that like at some point you just got to move on and you need a spark, but he's the scapegoat, right? Monken's now the scapegoat, or Zach is the scapegoat. If your scapegoat doesn't work, right? If you make that change, it doesn't work, then what happens? Because I watched it happen with Texas. Mac Brown was an all-time great coach for Texas, wins a national championship, wins the Big 12, and then gets fired because it's like all the same. James Franklin just got fired because he can't get over the hump. It doesn't always mean like things are going to get better. And when you're in a window with Lamar, sometimes consistency it's that's actually a positive. The Ravens they're like, no one cared about Zach Orr last year. This is when like the Zoe, defense started. That wasn't even a me thing. Marlon was telling me, guys, like it's not Zach. Like we're not playing well. Our safeties have no confidence. Like that was straight from the source. So I'm just going off what I knew last year. Now, there could be some schematic issues, but last year they turned around. They moved Kyle into the box, and they were a great defense, and that's why they were going to win the Super Bowl. And then Lamar Jackson, who I will defend to the day I die, he turns the ball over twice in the playoffs. So, like, Mark Andrews drops the ball. Like, there's so many things. You got to get so lucky to win a Super Bowl that picking one person or two people and acting like they're the issue. Any Ravens fan knows to win the last Super Bowl we did, we needed a mile-high miracle, literally a miracle as coined, just to get, to the AFC Championship. So, yeah, I think it is further proof that it's not all on the coaches, but I also don't think the coaches are like saying we're perfect right now. Like they know there's stuff that needs to change. So, yeah, I hope they turn around. I know there's some people in the fan base who they kind of just want to see Harbaugh and Zio be out. The Monken stuff is actually shocking to me because I feel like he's unlocked so much of Lamar's game. Like Lamar's game has gone to another level, and that's where it gets tricky. It's like Lamar's so talented. You're Brady and Belichick, right? It's going to be a debate forever, like who elevated who. But sometimes you just got like great minds in the same room, and Lamar's just going to make everyone look. I mean, he made this O-line look usable, and you see it without him. So yeah,
Just to play devil's advocate here, Jack.
Yeah,
that
please.
Super Bowl year, John Harbaugh in December did fire his offensive coordinator. And it did jumpstart some things because the offense was not playing that well before that. And when he did move on from Greg Roman, the offense was jumpstarted again after 2 years. So it does seem like there's something to it. And when there's so many players playing scared, especially on defense, it's natural to go to coaching because it's not just say, hey, this one player is our weak link. It's like defensive wide, you're seeing softness. Or Or when you see somebody
Yeah.
for 2 years like Daniel Fa'alele be on the ground time and time and time again, it's like, hey, why not in the offseason didn't you go out and get somebody who could actually challenge him instead of a player that John Harbaugh doesn't want to play in Ben Cleveland? It's not actual competition. So I hear what you're saying. Sometimes there's scapegoats, and then you're like, well, what happens if it doesn't work? But some of the examples in the past have worked in the Ravens'
100%.
favor,
Yeah.
and they did move on.
And it's a great point. And I think this is where, on Twitter, you don't get these nuanced conversations where that's what I'm trying to say is like, I'm like 60-40, like I'd probably stick with it, but I totally hear the other side. And I've gotten to the point where, yeah, we have some uber talented players who aren't playing well, maybe from a lack of confidence. And sometimes you do just need a vibe shift. So that's why I'm like, yeah, maybe just change the vibe. I'm not out on that. But here's the question is, if everyone internally is saying that the coaches aren't the problem, what's to necessarily say that will shift the vibe, right? If they actually do like the coaches. So this is what we do, right? We speculate and we see, and I think we'll see what ends up happening. I'm excited for it. The Bears are a super beatable team. Like, I know they've won 4 in a row, and maybe this gives you the confidence to feel like you beat like a good team when in reality everyone knows they're an average team at best. But you got Lamar Jackson, and that's been enough recently. But the problem, sorry, and I'll end on this, but the problem I have is, oh my God, John Harbaugh is the worst coach ever. Okay. I think his time management is horrendous. I think he couldn't challenge or play successfully if his life depended on it. He has stuck around for 18 years, so he's doing something right. And it's the same conversation with Tomlin. Like, he's obviously a good coach, but maybe Pittsburgh does need a culture change or just something different. John Harbaugh did not fumble the ball in crunch time multiple times this season. Like, we're talking about one of the best running backs of all time. All of a sudden he's fumbling the ball. Like, Mark Andrews drops the ball at the goal line. Like, we're just seeing stuff that football, your sample size is so small. Like, John Harbaugh has coached for the Ravens 2 baseball seasons of games. Like, that's a true sample size. So, like, yeah, we've blown leads, but at the same time, it's like wacky stuff has happened, right? A tip ball against the Bills and that game never happens. And I get it. It's so concentrated, but that's just what I mean. Like, I'm a big numbers, data, analytics person. The first move that really tripped me up from Harbaugh was punting against Buffalo. I thought at that moment, that's when John, for the first time, questioned his mentality. Dan Campbell was never punt, right? Like, it didn't matter if Campbell fails the next 24 downs. He's going for it. It got Brandon Staley fired, but at least Staley, he never changed until he changed. And then people were like, he's lost his identity. So Harbaugh losing, like, we've missed every 2-point conversion in crunch time over the last 10 years, but he would always go. And now I'm like, once he's questioning himself, that's where I start to question him too. So yeah, maybe a switch is good. I'm open to that idea. Here's the problem. They didn't make the switch. So Ravens fans, you got to get all in, because clearly they're not making the change. And if they make the change, it's after you lose to Chicago. And if you lose to Chicago, the season's over. So just strap in and see what happens.
What about kicking a field goal down 2 scores in Kansas City?
I'll say this. First Ravens game that I haven't watched in, no joke, I think my life. I was at Ryder Cup. There was no service. It was when the USA turned it on. And the text I was getting, I don't think I've ever felt so lucky to have missed a game, because people said it wasn't Buffalo, like the heartbreak either time. It was just like the worst Ravens game that you've ever seen. Look, I'll call back people to, I don't know, 2018. Ravens lose to the Titans. Ravens, and then, or 2019. And Marlon says his team is soft. There's been changeover, and I haven't seen a lot change. This team is mentally weak. Is it the quarterback? I love Lamar to death. He went down 80 yards against Buffalo with literally the three of us at wide receiver. And it was the greatest drive I've ever seen from him. But like Lamar's never he wins big games, important games. But going back to college, he never got the big one. And in the pros, it's just a fact at this point. So is it the quarterback's confidence? Is it when Lamar tosses his helmet? Is it Marlon being one of the leaders of the defense and that message isn't getting home? Is Roquan being the Ray Lewis type on the roster, but then he's not tackling well in a game? Like, there's so many things, so many moving pieces that I just start to wonder, like, what is the issue? So maybe a change is the answer in that sense, or you do like any smart franchise does, which is why I give Bisciotti and DeCosta credit. You maximize the window. Tom Brady and the Patriots didn't win a Super Bowl for a decade, right? You got to be in the game. So I know it's not fun when the Ravens lose year over year in the semis or in the AFC Championship, but you just want to give a player like him as many shots as possible. So for a franchise that's been historically great, like I tweeted it yesterday, the Jets and the Giants, I mean, they won too, but they're a social experiment at this point. Like, how much pain and suffering can they handle? I will back Kyle Hamilton up. This fan base has proven they are spoiled. That doesn't mean they shouldn't have high expectations. But
it should not come from a player who's leading a 32nd ranked defense. That's 100%. You can't say that in that
I'm
moment.
In a place coming off a loss, 100%. Right. But the message, maybe wrong messenger, but the message is accurate. I mean, we got people in paper bags because they're 1-3 and we're half selling out a stadium.
I said this at the time. We are spoiled in Baltimore, but we're spoiled because of Lamar Jackson. We're spoiled, and we're tired of not getting over the hump with a generational player. Now, does that make Lamar Jackson perfect? No. But Lamar Jackson can and should win a Super Bowl. Yeah. And so we're not spoiled because of what happened in the Ray Lewis years and all that. That was all nice. But we're spoiled and we're upset because we know we have this player in Lamar Jackson. And we know that there are many coaches in this league that maybe could help him get over the hump. And there are situations where he could get over the hump. And maybe he has to do, turn the ball over less or whatever. But like, it's spoiled because you feel like this generational talent is being wasted. We're not spoiled. We're not spoiled because of Kyle Hamilton, as great as he is. Great as he is. We're not spoiled. It's because we're letting this moment slip through our fingers, and that's why people want to change. John Harbaugh has had 8 bites of the apple. Is it time to give somebody else a chance? That's it. It's not because he's not a Hall of Fame coach. It's because he's had 8 bites of the apple with this generational player who we all know could win this in the right circumstances. And even if like you have an average offensive line or things like that, I think that's why we're spoiled, and we want to have the fruits of being spoiled while we have them in Baltimore.
I think that is a perfect way to sum it up. I think once again, that's the beauty of like talking about it instead of tweeting about it. And there's nuance to the situation, right? Like it's not, but you also talk about, John's had 8 chances at it. The first few versions of Lamar, I know he was an MVP, but it wasn't at that level. And so you replace Roman with Monken, and now he's at that level. And it's like the AFC Championship that they set him up in a position that was indefensible. And I know Zay fumbled the ball, but why is that game not all on Lamar Jackson? I'm just saying it's very complex. There's a million factors. What if Zay doesn't fumble? What if the Ravens play better? I felt like being in the stands of that game, Lamar was trying to prove a point that he could beat the Chiefs with his arm. And that's not what that game called for. And now I feel like Lamar understands that, right? Like he's learning, like he continues to learn and get better. And that's why I think he's the best player in football. I don't think it's close. That roster, you can't complain about that roster, obviously, right? Like that team had it all. If there was one thing that I could change about the Ravens, it's not changing the guard, it's not changing the head coach, it's not changing anything. They don't force turnovers. And that is how you went. The Eagles last year, all they did in the playoffs was force turnovers. And that's why they won the Super Bowl. And so you go from having Terrell Suggs into, and what have we had since then? Kyle's a great guy. I enjoyed spending time with him in Provo. He's not disruptive. It's why they traded Oweh. You could get 10 sacks and not be a disruptor. Go watch the fourth quarter of Packers and Cardinals yesterday and watch Michael Parsons single-handedly blow up that game. Why do the Ravens lose to the Steelers every year? Because TJ Watt blows up games. So if anything, the all-in move that people want, it's got to be a pass rusher, and it's got to be someone who creates and forces turnovers. Marlon had his best year last year, coverage-wise. He was an all-pro. Give me 6 forced fumbles. I'll take that all day, right? Like Nate Wiggins will lock you down. I need 4 interceptions from you. That's what this team is missing. They're not creating turnovers. They didn't punt against Buffalo, and they still lost the game because they forced 0 turnovers, and you effectively had 4 turnovers with a drop 2-point conversion and a couple turnovers. So, like, that is, I think that, if anything to point to, that's what's missing, and that's the all-in move. And here's the truth. I don't know if that guy exists. And I think that's like why we're all like screaming and shouting, like, give me something, give me something. Like Jeffrey Simmons doesn't solve that as much as he helps. Yeah. But even Matabike, like he could disrupt some games, but you gotta force turnovers. That's the biggest problem with the Ravens.
We should have seen it all coming because your former co-host spoke about it all off season long. and here we are yet again, 6 weeks in.
They don't do it. Yeah.
They don't create turnovers. And to your point, they tend to cough it up and got to have it moments. So, dude, we've kept you a little bit longer than we expected. Hopefully you're doing okay on time. But everybody obviously knows where they can follow you. And I mean, if you have anything to tease, feel free.
No, I mean, I appreciate you guys, having this conversation. I think it's a fun one. I think in today's media, with Twitter being such a driver to all this stuff, to coverage, it's important to have forums where you can talk through and, give POV. So I love that, Sarah, I appreciate you giving your POV, and then we can talk through it in real time. And, just make sure you clip the parts that get a lot of good reaction, and then we can drive them back to the show and be like, no, we actually said this, but if you clip it well, I think you could have some gold on your hands.
You could be followed on X, as you guys see on the screen. Audio only. It is at Jack Settleman. Huge Ravens fan, traveler of the country when it comes to collegiate sports, and I look forward to seeing you hopefully in Santa Clara, man. If not Thursday night, Halloween weekend, we'll have to talk. And Sarah, he just became, as you announced, just in the last few days, you and your wife are expecting. So congratulations,
man. Baby girl, who hopefully I won't make him a Ravens fan. That way she doesn't have to suffer like the rest of us. I'll be at the Dolphins game Thursday Night Football because it's close to home, new home now, and hopefully I won't have to bring a paper bag because my buddy who's a Dolphins fan is like, I'm paper bagging it. And if we get the 1-6 Ravens against the 1-7 Dolphins, that would be ugly. So hopefully that's, just another turnaround. I was actually at the Thursday night game that they played. That was when Lamar couldn't figure out the all-out blitz. And that was probably the game that got Roman fired, actually. So maybe this will be the game. Yeah, maybe this will be the game that turns it around. So appreciate you guys as always.
Absolutely,
enjoy the Monday.
Jack.
Appreciate the
Glad
time.
you had fun in Provo.
If that's the case, Hard Rock is going to be full of paper bags. It's going to be Hard Rock Stadium Halloween weekend. It's not going to feel like Halloween weekend in there at all. Oh goodness! Thanks, Jack Settleman.
I'll retire this after that BYU segment for us.
I was going to say, boy, it went from, look, you said it in our pre-show call. Thank you for allowing this to be a self-serving segment.
It was definitely self-serving.
Well, look, though, I mean, it's bye week. We're kind of getting, it's post bye week now. Yeah. And so we're kind of getting back into the swing of things here. And you had a chance to flex your Cougar muscles there.
There we go. And I did it with 10,635 concurrents.
Woo! No kidding. Thank you guys for coming in hot today. Coming in hot today. And look, a lot of good conversation there, Sarah, I thought, in terms of, where this team is at. Jack is a fan first and foremost, but obviously has a chance at looking at, on a weekly basis, a number of other, whether it be collegiate programs and fan bases, or he does a lot of professional travel as well. So I think he has unique perspective when he talks about that spoiled take, to look at what the way others have it, what the Ravens have had and will hopefully continue to have when it comes to stability, which it obviously feels far from it right now, staring at 1-5 in the face. But some interesting dialogue there in terms of what's gone into the last month or two of football.
Always nice to have a different perspective, and that was definitely a different one than I've been given, for sure. And that doesn't mean, like he said, it's always a mix of things. I mean, for sure. I mean, the turnovers point was huge. I definitely agree with that. And that he's saying, some of the leaders of the players, like the all-pros, need to step up. And that's true. But when he talks about solutions, I think the fan base is on the right track with Fa'alele and defensive play calling.
Oh, yeah.
And perhaps John Harbaugh having his last bite of the apple.
Well, I was going to say, we'll see if, we'll see if in the next 6 days, some of those changes will be implemented. But yeah, thanks to Jack for his time. We've got a ton of quick hits for you, super chats, and a number of other things to get to with, like you said, over 10,000 currents.
Should we get to super chats before we do quick hits? There's a ton.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. All right. We left off with, who did we leave off with?
A while back. I feel like I've seen a few come in here.
Let's see. Wow. Yeah, today is rolling. We left off with Lewis and Eric Hill. Eric Hill is back, and he restarts the super chat run. Eric writes, in case no one tells you today they love you, just know that I do. Although this week I'm resting and recovering from injury, just wanted to say I'm here.
Oh, what happened, Eric?
And I was going to say, as a firefighter, that certainly begs the question, Eric, were you in a line of duty? And regardless, we hope you're doing well and recovering. So shout out and salute to Eric. Puts himself before.
I did notice
others before himself time and time again on a daily basis for what he does.
I did notice that Eric was missing, I think, a couple days last week while I was still here. So I'm just wondering if that's related to this injury. So I hope he's doing well.
Yeah. Yeah. That brings us to, and there'll be more from him, it looks like, as I skip ahead to see. So okay. Travis Whitfield for you.
He says, was Todd Monken Ben Cleveland's offensive coordinator when he played at Georgia? That's a good question. Let me look that up. We can keep
there may have been an overlap there. If you could check that out. Thank you. Brian Wall, obviously Todd passed up on the opportunity for a three-peat with Georgia and left after back-to-back national championships, of course, to take over for Greg Roman in Baltimore. Brian Walter says, hey, happy to have a week where the Ravens didn't lose. My wife certainly enjoyed not having a depressed husband this weekend. Ravens go on a run. Brian, glad you're seemingly feeling refreshed. DHB Senior says, see what I mean, Bobby? It's hard to adopt a good feeling. Douglas, I hope you're all right. Hope you're all right. I'm sure you're keeping yourself busy, getting ready for week 8 coming up this weekend.
Todd Monken started at Georgia in 2020. Ben Cleveland played there from 2016 to 2020. So it sounds like 2020 is where they overlapped.
There you go. Kevin Bonham Jr. says, hello. He got sacked 7 times in one game. That brings us to Rave.
Rave says, if Daniel is not benched, will you finally agree John's ego is bigger than Raven's success? No, I will not.
That brings us to Eric Hill. It's a 50 burger.
Woo!
And the first post by Mata Meatloaf. And she's somewhere on the beach, so she can't hear me right now. Eric writes, my last fire prevention tip for the month. Do research on the use of lithium-ion batteries. They are causing more and more fires every day, from phones to vehicles. Please understand the risk and make sure they are UL certified. Hashtag fire prevention. And again, this came in well before, about an hour ago now, well before we were following up on the injury. So, Eric, we want to say again, best wishes to you. Hope you're doing all right. He's also gifted a channel membership on this Monday. Thank you, Eric. And Kevin Carver is in the house.
Says, does it seem that the Ravens love to draft offensive linemen and then play them outside of their natural position? Might that be a problem? ? Yeah, they have done that. They're picking kind of later, getting these bigger tackles and moving them inside. It's worked at times. It has not worked at times. It certainly doesn't seem to be working with Daniel Fa'alele.
Here comes Oots. Congrats to your Cougs. I was born and raised in a BYU family, but a YM leader converted me to Utah at a young age.
That means young men's leader. So when go ahead.
He says, this probably should be your super chat. Not LDS anymore, but respect your passion for the faith still. We all need to follow and support authentic people.
Love that super chat. I still wish you were with BYU, but a lot of respect.
Love it. D-Rod wanted us to ask Jack about the pod. I liked him on it, meaning the Punchline podcast that Jack hosted with Marlon last year, which is no longer in play. Brian Walters for you.
Says the Battle of Winterfell made no strategic sense. You don't have your light cavalry charge blindly straight into the enemy. The catapults and infantry were placed in front of the trenches outside the castle. And then it's got signed Eric Hill. I'm so confused by this.
This might be some back and forth going on in the live chat that we're not privy to.
Yeah.
But Brian, thank you for the super chat. Liza writes, okay, if Sarah gets to be proud of BYU, I get to be proud of Lamar's and my college team, the University of Louisville, beating number 2 Miami. Go Cards. Huge win for the Cardinals. Liza, thank you for being here, and congrats to your alma mater. Nick Marty's in the house.
He says, we ain't spoiled. The team has spoiled. Maybe means the team is spoiled. Too many great opportunities to win a championship. Yeah, I'm telling you, we and inside the building, everybody's spoiled by Lamar Jackson.
Going back to our interview with Jack.
Right.
Olu writes, Sarah, sometimes it's like you're reading our minds. I'm worried we may not maximize our time with LJ8. I don't know if firing Harves now is the answer. Adam 78.
How can you blame Lamar in the AFC Championship when Harves and Monken chose not to run the ball when they led the league over 3,000 rushing yards that season? I almost pushed back on that one too, but I felt like I already pushed back enough on 2 of them. But yeah, he was saying Lamar was trying to prove he could win with his arm, but also it seemed like Todd Monken forgot about the run game.
Yeah.
This wasn't even called.
Yeah. I mean, we could have easily taken that conversation 60 plus minutes. And notice, unlike the Twitter sphere in some cases, just a good conversation.
Yeah, I do think he made a good point on that sometimes the nuance you can't get into, because he did acknowledge some of the points and whatnot, and we acknowledge the turnovers and all of that kind of stuff. And so it's nice to have a nuanced conversation.
I mean, Jack gets dragged on that app, and some of the things he says, he probably knows that he puts himself in the line of fire.
Yeah.
But the beauty of face-to-face conversation, or, whatever this is, I guess face-to-face, just in a remote setting, is that you can find ways to add in that nuance in a professional manner, which we try to do. DHB Senior has gifted a channel membership today. Thanks, Douglas, for being back with us. You're definitely back today with vengeance.
Yeah.
And Sarah, we've got a slew of, I guess, topic 3, if you will, / quick hit stuff to get to. I'm going to let you kick things in here. I'm going to use the bathroom real quick.
Yep.
And I'll be right back.
Sounds good.
Oops.
That's all right. No, we're doing it. We're doing it together. It's all right.
I'll be right back.
Okay. Just one more thing from Jeff from his article where he said he was anticipating a change at right guard, or he'd be moderately surprised if there wasn't. He was also asked about Jair Alexander having played so little. He said, do you see a scenario where he could get released in the next couple of weeks? And Jeff said, yeah, I think we're getting close to a tipping point with Alexander. And to be clear, I'm not suggesting, nor have I heard, that he's being divisive or forcing the issue behind the scenes. By all accounts, Alexander appreciated the opportunity to get in better shape, get healthier, and knock off some rust after his week 1 struggles in Buffalo. However, he's a proud and confident guy, and he signed with the Ravens to be a difference maker, not to watch games from the sideline. He's also on a 1-year deal, so he surely wants to show 31 other teams that he's still a quality starting corner. How long will he be okay with having no obvious role on defense? From a Ravens perspective, how long can they afford to carry a veteran corner who doesn't play special teams and isn't getting on the field defensively? The Ravens will need to create a roster spot for Emory Jones Jr. next week. DaCosta will likely make a few outside additions, so tough decisions will have to be made. So we will see what happens with Jair Alexander. Let me see. Okay. As we all know, the Ravens are now at the very bottom, no longer tied at the bottom of the AFC North, but that may change when other people have their bye weeks and whatnot. But yes, we are this many weeks in, 7 weeks in now, and the Ravens have the bottom possession solely to themselves with 1-5 because the Browns did indeed win their game against the Miami Dolphins. They're 2-5. And then last Thursday, which Bobby and I didn't get to react to, I know probably our fill-in co-host did, but the Steelers at 4-2, but they could have been 5-1 if not for Joe Flacco and the Bengals. So weird to say. It's so weird not to say Joe Flacco and the Ravens. Joe Flacco and the Bengals just sounds odd and weird. The Bengals now 3-4, but I just can't even believe how badly the Miami Dolphins were beat down by the Browns, and Quinshon Judkins, a massive reason for that. 3 touchdowns. Bobby, did you get a chance to check that? Or both of us were traveling most of the day. I did not get to see a lot of football. I went back and saw highlights. I'm sure you were traveling most of the day too. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll be honest. Unfortunately, like I said earlier on, being in Canada, all they were playing Thursday night was the ALCS, because the Blue Jays are obviously a game away from the World Series. And then yesterday was, which is part of the reason why I'm in such a fog, a crazy travel day. So turned on Red Zone a little bit. Judkins is their rookie, Sarah, who actually made his NFL debut when the Ravens played. When the Ravens and Browns played earlier on this year, and you saw some signs that he might have some life to him, some juice to him. He's certainly done that. But yeah, I mean, clearly look, Miami's going nowhere fast. I would imagine that Mike McDaniel's job security is hanging on by a thread. Tua made some very controversial comments, kind of calling out his locker room in a sense and his peers within the last week or so. He was benched for, oh gosh, who's their backup? He was their 7th rounder, I think. His name escapes me. But anyway, he was benched. Somebody will help me out with the chat on that one. But yeah, the Dolphins it's going to be very interesting, that Thursday night game leading into Halloween weekend. Going to be very, thank you, Kafie. Quinn Ewers came in for Tua. And then, like we mentioned earlier on, that didn't stop NFL insiders from reporting that no changes are expected, whether it be the quarterback or the head coach. So I'd have to think that they continue to get the same result over and over again, that something's going to have to give there.
Hard for me to believe that. And part of me just wants them to start selling off pieces because the Ravens could be in need of it. But Bobby, we didn't get to react to Joe. I watched this game live. It was so much fun. Joe Flacco. When he plays the Ravens, he doesn't beat the Ravens. But every once in a while, he's still a Raven at heart. He still bleeds that purple because he did do the Ravens a solid. And it was so fun to watch him outduel the other 40-year-old quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. And I just love it. Colleen Wolfe of the NFL Network posting this just clean photo. This I'm still around kind of photo. Don't overlook me kind of photo. When he went 31 for 47, 342 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns. He was just so locked in. I doubt you got coverage up in Banff to watch this.
No, not much, but enough scrolling to realize that Joe, on 10 days, less than that, maybe around there, having joined the team. Now, obviously, all of his family's back in aren't they in the Jersey area or somewhere around there?
Yeah, Jersey.
Just goes out to Cincinnati, takes over for a struggling Jake Browning, takes over for just a struggling overall team that have been scuffling since Joe Burrow went down, and says, you know what? I got the best wide receiver tandem now at my disposal in the entire league. I barely know this offense, but I'm a pro. I've been doing this since 2008, and I'm going to show that I still have a lot left to give. I'm still an accurate thrower of the football. I'm still a high-level processor, and I'm a Super Bowl MVP. And I'm going to go in here up against a guy that I've never won in a head-to-head against, in Aaron Rodgers. We're both on the other side of 40. I mean, come on. I am so mad that I missed this game because I love both of these quarterbacks. And the fact that these two in a prime time setting, Come on, this is as good as it gets.
It was so much fun. It was so much fun just to watch an AFC North game and yeah, like it was so fun to watch Joe after the post game interviews on Amazon too, where they were like, "Hey, what's it like throwing to Jamar Chase?" And he just starts giggling like it was like he was in elementary school again. And he talks about how he was on the phone with his brothers and his dad, and they were all just laughing about how he fell into this scenario where he has this wide receiver core like this. And then he was going on bye week and he's going to go see his kids after this game. He was just living life right there. And I just love that I could be in a situation where I could root for him when he was not a Raven. I will be taking off that hat once he's back on the field against others. But to watch him take down the Steelers, to knock them down and just have the AFC North eat itself, I was loving every single second of it. And I'm still happy about it. And it's 5 days later? It happened 5 days ago?
Well, that's exactly it, though. You hit on the point that probably we should have led with, right? It's a huge salute to the Ravens. I mean, right now, this Kalshi Sports, Kalshi, Kalshi. We've talked about them a few times. They're what do they do here? Trade every sport in all 50 states with no house. Anyway, they're odds makers.
Yeah.
Right now, as of this morning, yes, they have Pittsburgh favored to win the AFC North.
Yeah.
But the Ravens are 2 percentage points lower in terms of odds. 43 to 41%. I mean, the Ravens are still in it. Whether or not we feel like they're capable of digging themselves out of it remains to be seen. But yeah, what Joe did is just what's this?
I love these tweets. Somebody tweeted this photo from the NFL honors when Lamar won his second time MVP and Joe won comeback player of the year. And now look at him again. And somebody tweeted that photo out of them hugging, said, Joe Flacco still helping the Ravens. Then this office tweet with Jim Halpert and tears in his eyes. The context is his wife just told him that they're pregnant. But it's our reaction. Ravens fans watching Flacco beat the Steelers again. Like these are emotions that I felt that night watching it live. It was so nice. It was so nice. Meanwhile, as we know, I'm sorry, did you have anything else to say about that game?
Just genuinely happy. I'm just genuinely happy that he continues to do. And if you've been following his post-game press conferences and just his overall media availability, you know that this is simply about for the love of the game for Joe.
Yes.
It is literally about nothing else. This guy doesn't have to work a day in his life and hasn't had to for years.
Yeah.
And the fact that he is still putting himself in a position to play meaningful football at the highest level at 40 years old, I think it's a testament to who he is. And I think we can all learn or take something from that, whether it's in our professional lives, our family lives, whatever it might be. I am just genuinely happy for him that he's gotten another chance, because I'm sure there was some doubt creeping into his mind in terms of whether that was it when he was ultimately benched in Cleveland just a couple weeks ago. So good for him.
We mentioned this, or Jack mentioned this when he was here talking with us, that everybody's talking about the Ravens' next opponent, Chicago Bears, have now won 4 straight, which, listen, can't knock it too much because the Ravens haven't come anywhere close to that. The Ravens lost to, not so great teams also, including the Houston Texans. Granted, Lamar wasn't out there, but it is what it is. So here's who they have feasted on over the last 4 games. The Dallas Cowboys, who are 500, so, beating them. Las Vegas, who was a mess. I think they're 1-6. Either 1-5 or 1-6, and they had a bye. Then they beat the Washington Commanders, who are 1 game below 500. And the New Orleans Saints, who are also a mess. They are either 1-5 or 1-6. I'm trying to remember. Las Vegas is 1, and then New Orleans is the other. One of them is 1-5, one of them is 1-6. So, listen, as good as 4 straight sounds, and it is way better than what we've been seeing in Baltimore, this isn't like a world beater, okay? The Ravens, this is still with Lamar Jackson back, Roquan Smith, maybe Pat Ricard, Cheeto. Like, you've had the trade at the safety position. You saw an improved defense. This is completely a beatable team. The Ravens don't deserve to go to the playoffs if they can't coming out of a bye with all these returning players, beat the Chicago Bears, and I don't care that they've won 4 straight. This is a beatable team right here, and the Ravens have got to pull it off.
Vegas is 2-5. And you asked about New Orleans, 1-6.
1-6.
Washington, you said one game below 500. Yes, 3-4. And they got clapped yesterday by Dallas.
Cowboys are 500.
Jaden Daniels was hurt in that game. Cowboys are 500 with a tie, which is a bummer for them. Packers are also they have that tie from, what was that, a Thursday night game or something? Or it was a primetime game when Packers and Cowboys tie. That's the worst end result in sports, let's be honest.
Well,
A tie. That's horrific.
Nobody's happy in that scenario. Literally nobody.
Sarah, San Francisco continues to win. You know, kind of along the lines of what we discussed earlier, like other teams with QB2 are holding down the fort, the Ravens not being one of them. San Francisco is one of them. They're 5-2. Brock Purdy's been down for weeks. Mac Jones is certainly I didn't look at his numbers last night, but they continue to win with Mac under center. He didn't do anything special last night. He was 17 of 26, 152 yards, no touchdowns, a pick, and a quarterback rating of 64.9. It was what C-Mac did on the ground for them. Christian McCaffrey was dominant. 2 touchdowns, 129 yards, 24 carries. So point is that other teams without their star at quarterback have held down the fort, and obviously Baltimore's not one of them.
Nope.
Cincinnati's one of them.
Meanwhile, the Broncos got a 1-point win over the New York Giants. Kind of listen to how they did it. They scored 33 points in the fourth quarter for this comeback. That's insane.
Fourth quarter was absurd. Bo Nix and Sean Payton, I'm telling you, on a day where they didn't get a lot out of their defense, or at least in the first half. And like you said, talk about a collapse. I mean, come on. That's a collapse right there. 33 all in the fourth quarter.
I thought it was a typo when I saw it. Like, really?
Yeah, that's a collapse. You talk about a Buffalo collapse week 1. What do you think the Giants are saying right now about their defense? Now, Jackson Dart, as great as he was, threw a crunch time interception, and he got up there post-game, held himself accountable, which you appreciate. And he clearly is the guy for them. But that's a defensive collapse right there. That's for sure.
Bobby, that felt like so much like a typo that I just looked it up again.
Yeah.
Just to make sure. Because like I said, we were traveling. We didn't get to watch the game. Literally, touchdown, plus on both of those 2-point conversion successes, touchdown, field goal, all in the fourth quarter. Woo!
Yeah.
That's crazy. The
and
Giants.
Bo Nix, man. Bo Nix. I'm telling you. He's
just another quarterback that you love.
I do, because he's not a flash. He's not flashy. He doesn't necessarily like wow you with his God-gifted abilities, but he just gets it done. And Sean Payton is a heck of a coach. Look out for Denver. You know, we keep talking. What have we talked about in recent months about, because, you know, with my prediction and whatnot, it's been all about the defense. Well, getting back into the game on the fourth quarter was all about the offense, obviously, with 33 freaking total points. But they did turn Jackson Dart over with that interception, like I mentioned. So,
well, your prediction is looking pretty good that I made fun of you so badly on. And so now I'm like rooting for the Chargers or somebody to win it. But Broncos are atop the AFC West with a 5-2 record. Then the Chargers and Chiefs tied at 4-3.
But
Chargers,
I was going to say,
Chargers on the tiebreaker head to head.
Right. But it's like, you know what? Look at Kansas City now. They've been beaten up on teams. We know that Vegas is not. It's not a they're not a playoff contender. We think that the team that we cover year round is a playoff contender. This year has led us to question that, obviously. So the Chiefs are on a little bit of a roll right now. Look out.
31-0.
Yeah.
Woof.
Yep.
Yeah, they are. And then, you know, who's still on a roll is the Indianapolis Colts. They are now 6-1. And then the Patriots beat the Tennessee Titans, some of these AFC teams that I wanted to pull up so you can see an overall look at the AFC, just to show once again how big of a climb the Ravens have to climb. Now, again, the easier climb is just to end up winning the AFC North. It is still a hard climb, but not as hard as this. Colts 6-1, and you got to go down 13 spots to see the Ravens at 1-5. Or maybe be 12 spots. They're barely above the Dolphins and right below the Browns and below the Raiders and the Texans, like all these, and below the Bengals, who have been without their franchise quarterback longer than the Ravens. Woof, they got an uphill climb. But like I said, I have 5 reasons to have optimism that they can go on a little run here.
You do, but there's 5 teams that certainly suggest that the shift is on in the AFC. Look at this. I mean, the shift is on. Genuinely happy for Daniel Jones, right? I mean, the fact that he's doing this in year 1 with the Colts having beaten out Anthony Richardson over the summer certainly makes you believe that the Colts made the right evaluation decision on their quarterback, on their quarterback competition. And then you got to be happy for a guy like Mike Vrabel, Sarah, who not only has turned around the Patriots in literally 7 games, but goes into his former team. I don't know what the Tennessee Titans ownership group was thinking, letting Mike Vrabel go. I think Jake Asman, our friend in Jetsland, would give a limb to have Mike Vrabel as his head coach. But the fact that he went to his old stomping grounds and smacked the Titans on their home turf, got to feel pretty good for them. Seems like a star in the making is Drake May, their Patriots quarterback. And New England sure looks like they got a chance to make a run here in the AFC that's wide open right now. Can we just repeat that? It is wide open in the AFC.
And they can help, beat down the Bills a little bit.
Yeah.
Because the Bills seemingly having a much easier division. But some more quick hits here. Bobby, I think you knew before you left, but the Rams, when they were in town, they then had to go play overseas in a national game, which they ended up winning. But they had been practicing at the Orioles Stadium, Camden Yards. So LA posted before they left. They said, thanks for the hospitality, Orioles. So that's pretty cool there. And whoops, we're back to Jack stuff. I think that's all.
The Rams will pay
that's all of them.
For the resodding of Camden Yards. So that was part
of
the agreement.
Okay.
I believe the Rams organization will pay the Orioles to resod everything. And I thought that was pretty cool. I was following along with some of that content.
Okay.
The Rams certainly were leaning into that content with Matthew Stafford on the mound and whatnot. So that was kind of cool. But Sarah, clearly it worked. Their whole plan to leave late and stay in Baltimore, clearly it worked. They absolutely smacked Jacksonville, like we mentioned. So 35-7 in the early window in London. So look out for the Rams, partner. They're 5-2. Looking darn good as they did against the Ravens. And I don't think Puka played in that game, though, did he?
Beatable. 17 points.
Well, what do you mean?
The Ravens only gave up 17 points to him?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well.
Cooper Rush only put up 3. I guess Tyler came in at the end there.
I don't think Puka played in that game, did he?
He played a little bit. He came in and out. Yeah, he got injured he got injured in the game.
Well, no, I'm talking about yesterday.
You're talking about yesterday. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. That's my bad. I misunderstood.
No, it's okay. And they still hung a 30+ burger on him. So
yeah.
Anyway, that is that. Do we have any more quick hits?
No, that's all the quick hits.
Do you want to wait till Tuesday to share our bye week stuff?
Yeah, we're already 2:07 into this thing.
Let's do that because we still have a couple super chats. And I'll have more time to gather some of the content that I want to share with everybody about what an amazing trip. I think you had a great time as well celebrating your parents' anniversary. Ironically, we both went mountain time. I was just in a different country.
Yes.
In the Canadian Rockies with limited service. And of course you went back home, which is cool. I can't wait to share more on the back end of tomorrow's show. Let's call it. Blast Hard Cheese is with us. And he says, we avenged you from 2024 week 2. You're welcome. And then the Chiefs
Chiefs beating down the Raiders.
Continue to be with us.
Call me crazy, but it doesn't feel very good.
Hey, DJP's in the house.
Hey, DJP says the fan base is soft. He says we've definitely got some issues, but we are still better than a lot of teams. Watch this run we go on, with his sunglass emoji and salute emoji.
DJP. Devin, hopefully you and your missus are, I have to think you're in the deep thick of it in terms of parenting, right? Only
Right.
goes back to August. So I think they have a
Mhm.
3-month-old now, if memory serves. So thanks, Devin. Okay. Whew. Partner, we will give double the patrons tomorrow. I never loaded them up. And if that doesn't tell you where I'm at with my fog, then I don't know what will. But
Hey, I think you've
but
been
thank
fine.
you guys for, thanks everybody for, wow, 12,000 concurrents on this Monday. So we missed you too. If that's what you're saying, you missed us, then we've missed you too. Anything else from you, partner, before we wrap up today?
Nope. I just feel like I'm going to be bringing winning vibes from Provo back to Baltimore. I think that's what's going to be happening. Spoiler of my prediction on Friday when we preview the Ravens Bears.
Well, I was going to say, you enjoy yourself over the next couple of days and keep enjoying it. It's already 48 hours in, but or almost there. You keep enjoying that Holy War victory. We want to say thanks to Jack Settleman for popping by the show, and then obviously indulging in some good conversation there on the back end related to where the Ravens stand right now. We also want to say thank you to Manta Sleep for this continued support. If you use code VAULT10 at mantasleep.com, that'll get you a 10% discount. So we'll continue to partner and work with them moving forward. And yeah, we'll be back tomorrow. John Harbaugh speaks in the 4 o'clock hour today, not in the 3 o'clock hour. Usually it's actually in the 2 o'clock hour on Mondays. So we will have, I'm sure, plenty to react to along those lines coming up later tomorrow. So for Sarah Ellison, I'm Bobby Trossett signing off from this Monday Ravens Lunch Hour live stream. 2 hours plus for you as we get ready for week 8 of this NFL regular season. That means the Ravens and Bears will battle it out on Sunday. We'll have plenty to get to between now and then. As always, Vaultrons, we appreciate you for spending some time with us. If you could on the way out, like the video, subscribe.
13,000, by the way. 13,000 concurrents. Woo!
Unbelievable number. And yes, we missed you dearly. And maybe you missed us, or maybe you just care about the content, or maybe both. I don't know. Anyway, like the video if you could on the way out. Subscribe, hit that notification bell. Consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership. And yes, we are really, really glad to be back with you. We'll catch up with you on Tuesday, if not before, right here inside the vault.